Let's jump right into this explainer of Maureen Fergus's brilliant story and What If I Won't. We're going to unpack how a totally simple, everyday household chore rapidly escalates into this wildly imaginative intergalactic test of boundaries. We'll be looking closely at the exact structure of this escalation to see how those boundaries are pushed and ultimately maintained. So what actually happens when a simple chore becomes a galactic standoff? Keep that in mind as we explore the psychological game of tennis between a young boy named Benny and his mother. To really get how this standoff works, we're anchoring our analysis around 10 pivotal English sentences pulled straight from the story. These 10 lines are literally the structural pillars of Benny's escalating defiance and his mom's absolute masterclass in responding. Section 1. The Everyday Spark. We gotta start at the bottom. Long before we get to alien planets and circus clowns, we're grounded in everyday reality with key sentence number 1, please put your plate in the sink. It's the mundane spark that ignites Benny's whole imagination. I mean, it's a totally standard, perfectly reasonable request from a parent. But for Benny, well, it's an open invitation to start a hypothetical war. Benny instantly counters by asking what would happen if he simply said no. And right away, this brilliantly illustrates the contrast between a kid testing the waters and his mom's steady, non-reactive boundary setting. Instead of getting mad or frustrated, she just offers a calm, measured social consequence. Her first move, which brings us to key sentence number 2, is to impart a social lesson. She says, I tell you that just saying no is rude. Notice she doesn't leap to harsh punishments or raise her voice. She just points out the actual social reality of his hypothetical defiance. She follows that right up with key sentence number 3. Then I'd explain why it's important to help out around the house. The crucial takeaway here is that she anchors her authority in reasoning. She's not doing the whole because I said so routine. She's taking the time to explain the why behind the rules. Section 2. Testing reality's limits. Pushing past social norms. Of course, Benny isn't satisfied with logical explanations, right? He threatens to smash his plate right against the wall. So how does mom respond to imaginary physical destruction? With key sentence number 4, I'd make you clean up the mess, of course. Notice that of course. It's a perfectly logical, natural consequence. You break a plate, you clean it up. She is keeping this hypothetical situation completely grounded in real-world cause and effect. But then Benny pivots. He hits her with key sentence number 5. What would you do if I refused to clean up the mess? This is a massive turning point. The escalation truly kicks off right here, shifting from an imagined accident or emotional outburst to willful, direct defiance. Mom meets this direct defiance in key sentence number 6 with your standard realistic parenting tool. She says, I'm afraid I have to give you a timeout. What's really fascinating here is that the text specifically notes she says this regretfully. There's no malice, she's just enforcing the next logical boundary in the real world. But Benny won't be contained. In key sentence number 7, he asks, what would you do if instead of staying in timeout, I ran around the house? Boom, Benny shatters the final real-world boundary. He completely rejects the timeout consequence and threatens to unleash total havoc. Just look at this rapid-fire list of misbehaviors Benny weaponizes to test his mom's breaking point. He threatens to practically destroy the kitchen, draw all over the walls with permanent markers, jump on the couch in muddy rain boots, and purposefully tear pages out of library books. He is literally throwing every real-world toddler crime at her all at once. Section 3, the absurd escalation. We are leaving reality behind. Realizing the living room is way too small for this battle, Mom makes a brilliant strategic shift. The whole thing builds into an incredible escalation ladder. First, Mom says she'd give him to the zoo, but Benny counters that he'd bite the zookeeper, make horrible faces, and roar at the baby penguins until they cried. Since the zoo won't keep him, the escalation moves to the circus, and eventually, as you'll see, all the way out into the galaxy to the moon. When Benny ruins his chances at the zoo, we get key sentence number 8. Mom says, I suppose I have no choice but to sell you to the circus. This is amazing because it perfectly captures Mom leaning into the absurdity. She is maintaining her boundary that bad behavior has consequences, but she is doing it entirely within his imaginary world. She's playing his game. Section 4. The Evil Genius. Reveling in the chaos. So Benny imagines sabotaging the circus. tying lions' tails together and yanking down clown pants so everyone sees their polka-dotted underwear. The ringmaster kicks him out, and Mom threatens to send him to the moon. But, underneath all this defiance, it's not genuine malice. It's a game. Benny is absolutely delighted by the ridiculousness he's authored. He is acting as what the book explicitly calls an evil genius, totally reveling in these chaotic scenarios he's using to drive his parent to extreme imaginary measures. Which brings us to key sentence number 9. Instead of answering, Benny laughed like an evil genius. It's this hilarious pause in the action. He actually stops escalating for just a second simply to enjoy his own imaginary naughtiness. He's thrilled that his mom is playing along so beautifully. Section 5. Grounded by unconditional love. Time to end the game safely. So Benny pushes the story to the absolute limit. He crashes on an alien planet, shouts bad words, the whole shebang. But then, the tone shifts. He climbs onto his mom's lap and whispers a question. Notice how his wildest, most chaotic scenario actually reveals a deep vulnerability. He asks what would happen if he was so naughty that the aliens didn't want him, and they used a giant alien slingshot to hurl him back to Earth. His ultimate fear is being truly unwanted by everyone. And here it is, key sentence number 10, honestly, the most important one of all. His mom responds, "I'll tell you how much I've missed you and how much I love you." She brings the entire wild narrative right back down to earth with absolute security. No matter how monstrously naughty he is, he's safe with her. She brilliantly closes the loop right here. First, she provides that unconditional love and a big hug to soothe his underlying anxiety. And then, completely unfazed by the galactic detour, the zoo, the circus, and the aliens, she returns right back to the original boundary. The very last line of the story is her calmly asking him again to please put his plate in the sink. It is an absolute masterclass in playful but firm boundary setting. So, I leave you with this. The next time your boundaries are pushed to the absolute limit by a barrage of what-ifs, ask yourself if you can respond with the same unshakable, loving grounding as Benny's mom. Can you play the game, travel the galaxy, and still end up right back at the kitchen sink?